Hi everyone! Today I'm here to share with you my most used art supplies. I know several of you have been waiting for this video, so I do apologize for the long wait. I've also posted a regrets video and my favorites video, so I'll link both of those below as well in case you haven't seen those yet. Now, let's get the ball rolling, shall we? First up, let's talk about watercolors. Some of you may already know that this is my 2023 palette, and you can already visually see for yourself that several of the colors in the middle row here have already hit pan. This comprises of my signature palette, which I've talked about before in this video here. First is Quinacridone Magenta PR122, Quin Red PR209, Nickel Azo Yellow PY150, Serpentine Genuine, Phthalo Green Blue shade PG7, and then Cobalt Turquoise PB36. This one, Transparent Oxide Yellow and Oxide Black, happened to be the ones I didn't use up as much, which was rather surprising to myself as well, as I personally thought they were colors I'd used rather often. Moving on to Phthalo Turquoise PB16. Cerulean Blue, this one is PB36, but I do like the warmer shades that are PB35. Ultramarine Blue, and then that Red Earth is Burnt Sienna. I have used other of the surrounding colors, but mostly for experimental stuff, which I don't count towards this video as my true usage of the colors wouldn't be reflected properly. Apart from the 2023 palette, I've also been using this palette, which was made up purely of Roman small watercolors, that were mostly funded by a kind subscriber. Thank you! The top row there are basically the same colors as previously mentioned, but I wanted to draw your attention to Roman Small's Autumn Green in the bottom corner here. Now, you all know green isn't a favorite color of mine, but it turns out that I absolutely love this autumn green. So much that I created this dent in the pan in the span of a few months. I'll also be posting a separate video that will go more in depth into my experience with Roman Small watercolors, so do keep an eye out for that later down the line. Next, these are my most used brushes thus far. Let's start off with these three dark green handles with nylon bristles. These are cheap beginner brushes that are available locally here in Thailand. I have a small, medium, and large size here. I keep thinking about giving these away now that I have better brushes, but I still have them because I basically use them every single time I test out new watercolors or a new sketchbook. And they're really cheap, so I can be rough with them as much as I want. I've probably had these for over 10 years now, and their condition is still very good. Then we have Jackson's Icon Quill and Raven Mop brushes. I got these shortly after being so amazed by Irit Landgraf's loose style of painting. Although the Icon Quill is technically a round brush, it holds so much more water than the regular cheap synthetic round brushes out there, so I found myself using it in place of previous brushes. I also used the Raven Mop brush when I wanted more juicy strokes. I'd say I used these two the most back in 2020-2021. And then in 2022, I got so many new brushes that you can check out in these two videos, but the two that I kept reaching for the most were these two that perform essentially the same as Jackson's Icon Quill. Both are from Rosemary Co. The bottom one is their Pointed Golden Synthetic in size 10-0, and the top one, also size 10-0, is their Red Dot Mop brush, which is marketed as a synthetic sable. Both have a decent spring to them and hold a decent amount of water. You'll notice that I use these smallish size brushes because I mainly paint on A5 or A4. But if I ever want to paint more loosely or on a larger surface, I find myself grabbing either one of these because they're so soft and hold so much water. The bottom one is Rosemary Co's Pure Squirrel Mop Brush, which I believe is no longer available, but they do have the synthetic squirrel range called Sienna. The brush on top is Roman Small's 112 series. It's a synthetic hair mop brush. Initially, I didn't like it so much, but the more I used it, the softer it gets. I haven't seen this brush available on Jackson's yet, but I have seen it in their promotional images, so hopefully they'll stock it one day. Moving on to paper, these are the two I've used the most often in the past few years. I have these in A6 all the way to A3 size, but for this video, I'm just showing you the A5 size. This first one is by Seikai, which I believe is a local brand in Thailand. It's affordable, easily accessible to me, and the properties of the paper are suitable for watercolor. This next one is by Canson, and I believe the series is called Fineface. I love them because they're affordable and they come in various paper weights and surface textures. The paper itself is also a bright white color, so it's great at really making bright colors pop. I debated whether I should show these to you or not because I believe you can't get them outside of Thailand. However, I think it is important that people see that it's normal to buy things locally that work for you, even if it means it's a product not commonly known worldwide. Next, Kurutoga Mechanical Pencils by Uni. Now, I don't know how much these cost around the world, but I got these at a thrift store of sorts, so they were really cheap. I've used them for sketching, regular jotting down notes, lots of things. The lead doesn't break on me like with other mechanical pencils, so that's why I really love them. Not much to say, just really good solid performing pencils. Next up, pens. These are my most used pens, fine liners, pigment liners, whatever you want to call them. There's a lot because I've used all of them interchangeably throughout the past few years. What I like about all of these is that they're fast drying and waterproof. And that's what we all need for working with watercolors, right? I'm sure you've seen most, if not all of these before, but I'd like to draw your attention to this one here. This one is by Renaissance. However, a couple years ago, I saw a Russian artist recommend the same looking product, just with Russian labeling. I believe this might be a white labeled product, so if you do see this white shaped pen in your local art stores, do give it a try. Fountain pens. After my pigment liners started drying up or being used up, I switched over to fountain pens. This first one is a Kaweco dupe I had gotten from AliExpress. I do have a real Kaweco sports pen, but this one is a push cap as opposed to the screw cap. I also find that this one writes more wet than regular Kaweco nibs, so that's why I've kept using it. And then of course, Kaweco Perkeo. I use this a lot because it's a regular pen size and the cap snaps on and off so easily. The nib does run a bit dry for my preference at least, but I've been able to make do with it to the point now where I love it. I use it for things like jotting down quick notes or sketching under watercolor. Next, my water cup. I got this from a local art store, but it's the same as Faber-Castell's Click and Go cup. Anything can hold my paint water, but I just love the curved ridges around the rim of the cup here, which is where I lay my brushes to dry after every single painting session. It's such a great invention. And then this is my paint rag. Earlier on, I noticed I was using and throwing away so much paper towels, so I switched over to using this rag cloth to dab excess water off my brushes. It's saved me a lot of money that would have been wasted on disposable paper towels. Last but not least, I want to give a special mention to this Samsung NX Mini camera. I used this for the first 2 years of my YouTube journey. I've since changed to filming with my phone, but I still use this to take nice close-up shots for you. So I'm happy it's still going strong. So that's all of my most used art supplies thus far. What do you guys think? Were most of these as you expected, or did you find some of them unexpected for me? I've definitely been painting a lot more this year with several new art supplies that I've grown to love. We'll have to wait and see if they make it to my most used list of art supplies next year. Alright, that's all I have for you today. As always, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to drink lots of water and stay hydrated.